US President Donald Trump clarifies that there is nothing to worry about with respect to relations with India, adds that he will continue to be friends with Prime Minister Modi. The Prime Minister Modi reciprocates the positive sentiments from the US. Stocks on Wall Street and Friday's session lower after a weaker than expected US jobs report that boosts rate cut hopes. Asian markets have opened largely higher as investors react to Japanese PM's announcement to step down. The GIFT Nifty is indicating a positive start for our own markets as well. Crude prices have risen after the OPEC and allies agreed to raise output further, but at a modest pace. Gold prices are near their record high levels of around $3,600 an ounce as the weak US jobs data has fueled bets of more rate cuts. In an exclusive conversation with CNBC TV 18, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman says that GST cuts will quote-unquote 100% boost consumption, rules out any cut to government capex or any fiscal slippage, also says that alcohol and fuel will not come under the GST ambit in the near future. And major automakers announced significant price cuts across models following the government's decision to rationalize GST rates on automobiles. Customers can now expect savings ranging from 60,000 rupees on entry-level cars to over 3 lakh rupees on premium SUVs. It is the start of a brand new week. You're watching Power Breakfast right here on CNBC TV 18 in the Mumbai News Center. I am Hormas Fatakia. Let's first start off with how the Asian markets have opened up this morning. And it's a fairly positive start, if you can call it that. The Hang Seng trading around 0.3% higher. The Taiwanese index is up 0.6%. The real outperformance, though, is coming from Japan. The Nikkei is up almost 2%. And that is after their Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba decided that he's going to step down and will remain Prime Minister, of course, until a new leader is being put in place. And although the yen has weakened against the US dollar, it is the equity markets that are seeing a boost after this announcement on hopes that the new leader will finally bring about some policy stability. And as a result of which, the Nikkei is up almost 2%. The Kospi in South Korea too, trading gains of around 0.5%, and a similar quantum of gains also seen in the Shanghai Composite. So a fairly positive start for the Asian markets for this new trading week. And the GIFT Nifty is reciprocating that in a similar manner as well. A 70-point uptick is what the implied open is currently suggesting. So based on that, we could open above that 24,800 mark. But of course, within that resistance band of the 24,800, 850 to that 25,000 range. But to set you up for today's trading session, our research team is here with how the trade setup looks like, the stocks that are likely to be in the news, and of course the setup on the F&O side of things as well. Firstly, Vamakshi joins in to get all the market cues that we need to watch out for. Vamakshi, good morning. It was a fairly volatile close to what was a positive week for the markets. But what are you watching out for this morning?
Well, good morning, Hormaz. Of course, last week was extremely volatile with, the bulls as well as the bears, alternating their dominance in the session. Volatility spiked and the Nifty was up almost 1.3% last week. But it is the mid-cap as well as the small-cap index that managed to outperform. Both of them posted gains of anywhere between 2.4 to 2.5%. Now, the handover that actually came in from the US markets on Friday was not as great. All three indices closed lower after hitting record highs, and this is after weaker than expected US jobs report. Now, coming to this week, we're firstly keeping an eye out on the first sign of a thaw in India-US relations. Now, on Friday, Trump said India and US have a special relationship, and PM Modi said he deeply appreciated and fully reciprocated Trump's sentiments and positive assessment of bilateral trade. So some positive rub-off could come from this. But apart from that, lots of economic cues to watch out for this week. Starting today, we'll be watching out for the Japanese GDP number. September 10th, we'll be keeping an eye out on the US PPI number as well as the crude oil inventories. September 11th is ECB's interest rate decision as well as US core PPI as well as the US initial jobless claims. And on September 12th, we'll be keeping an eye out on the on India's CPI number, that is the inflation number, and UK's GDP. Now, apart from that, a whole host of auto stocks will be in focus because they have announced price cuts and will be passing on the benefits of the GST rate rationalization to the consumers. So overall, the setup today looks quite positive. Asian markets, as Hormaz was pointing out earlier, are also up, and the GIFT Nifty too indicating a positive start to the to our own markets.
Indeed, remains to be seen whether this 65-point uptick sustains, of course, as the session goes by. But Vamakshi, since you are here with us, also tell us the stocks that you are keeping your eyes out on ahead of today's session.
Well, Hormaz, keeping an eye out on Tata Motors as well as Mahindra, because M&M that is, because they will be passing on GST rate reduction to the customers, and Hyundai Motors have also announced price reduction of up to 2.5 lakhs, and they will again be passing on the benefits to the customer. BHEL is the next counter that we're watching out for. They've entered a long-term pact with Horizon Fuel Cell to create and enter new market segments. Keep an eye out on Vedanta as well. Vedanta Group has emerged as a top bidder for Jaiprakash Associates in open challenge round. Vedanta actually outbid Adani Group with a total offer of around 17,000 crores, and some of the other suitors as well, Dalmia Bharat Group, Jindal Power, PNC Infratech, however, did not submit their bids. Now keep an eye out on SpiceJet, because the revenue for this company has seen a dip of almost 34%, and they've managed to report a net loss of around 234 crores as compared to a profit of 158 crores in the same quarter last year. Aurobindo Pharma in focus because the US FDA has concluded inspection at the company's manufacturing unit in Telangana with 8 observations, and Zydus Life Science as well. The US FDA has concluded inspection at the manufacturing facility in Vadodara, Gujarat with 4 observations. And lastly, keep an eye out on PNB Housing Finance, because they've managed to approve issuance of NCDs up to 5,000 crores via private placement.
Vamakshi, thank you for the trade setup as well as the stocks that you need to keep an eye out for today. And lastly, Mangalam joins in with cues from the F&O space. Mangalam, good morning. Well, a choppy end to the week, but what is the F&O data indicating at the start of a new one?
Well, for all the pull and push that happened, the Nifty did manage to gain about 1.5% all of last week. The important part, over the weekend, we did get US-India relations that are in focus post, conciliatory posts coming in from both Trump and Modi. The question is what happens from here on, and the GIFT Nifty is indicating that there would be a positive start. The street would have liked a slightly higher start than what the GIFT Nifty is indicating, but be that as it may, the FIs, they're selling every rally. 520 crore worth sell in index futures that took place on Friday's trading session as well. They unwound 1,300 longs, added about 1,500 shorts, and their shorts are now near record high, because if you look at the FI exposure, 7% long, 93% short, and the net contracts are near 2 lakh on the short side. So that's telling you that there is a really one-sided trade that the FIs are taking. So the question here will be, will trade talks actually lead to some sort of FII short covering? Why do I say that? Because domestically things are doing well. Our GDP data was good. We had the GST cut that came by as well. Ahead of festive season, demand is supposed to be buoyant. So all these factors may work for us. The only fly in the ointment would be the trade talks, and now the belief is that maybe that may move in the right direction as well. FII short covering is something that we'll be watching out for. It's not just index futures, they've been selling in cash market as well. We saw a sale of close to around 1,300 crores in the previous trading session. Now the Nifty likely to open around the 100-day moving average. It's saved the 20-day moving average, or protected that for the last few trading sessions. The question is whether we go past that 50-day moving average and look at that 25,000 mark or not at some point. And were we to do that, then the important level to track will be the August 21 high of 25,154 that came in the week post Prime Minister Modi's Independence Day speech. The active Nifty options indicate that there would be some support at 24,700. The 24,800 put is telling you that, but closer to 24,900 as we move towards 24,870, 880, we will see some sort of resistance. That's what the call writers at 24,800 are indicating. The question is, this GIFT Nifty gap up that comes about, will that sustain? Will we build onto that? Or maybe, like all we saw last week, that gets sold into too?
We will keep an eye out on all of that, and that remains the big question, whether this gap up does manage to sustain as the session goes by. Mangalam, thank you for that update. Now, in an exclusive conversation with CNBC TV 18, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman outlined the government's economic roadmap, highlighting that the GST rationalization as a key driver of consumption without compromising on fiscal discipline. Now, she also urged industries to pass on the tax benefits to their customers. Listen in to some excerpts of that conversation with Network 18's Rahul Joshi.
You've put more money into the hands of the consumer. You brought down for the middle classes, the income tax cut, and now rationalization of GST. So will it now finally sort of move the needle on consumption?
100%. Because there's more money given already through the income tax cut.
Right.
The rates are coming down. So the citizen now has a choice to meet his aspirations and his expectations. He cannot say, look, I have the money because the income tax is reduced, but these items are beyond my affordability. Now everything has come down. Okay. I'll give you this number which is important. 99% of all the goods and services which are touched by GST are now either in 0 or in 5 or in 18.
That's right.
There's nothing beyond. So that 1% is what makes for the demerit goods, which popular parlance says sin goods.
Yeah.
So that is the extent to which we have cleansed the system of anomalies, doubts, duplications, and any interpretative issues.
So this will also lead to higher investments. It will fire up investments as well.
Obviously, with consumption going up, there's a potential for capacities to grow, investments to grow.
Now the combined tax revenue impact of this, earlier your income tax cuts and this is about 1.2 lakh crore. Do you think that there will be a certain revenue buoyancy as well in the coming years to make up for this? And
every economic theory that one studies says that.
Yeah, have you seen that in the past?
At least the moment the income tax reduction happened, you heard people very clearly coming out and say, I've met up with a lot of individuals coming from different strata of the society saying, I'll have more money to send my son to this particular college. My daughter is already doing engineering. I'll be able to fund her for a higher studies and things like that. And from ordinary citizens who are leading their lives either working in a small store or driving a car, taxi, and so on. So it has an immediate psychological effect that I can do this, which was beyond my affordability. And therefore, I think there will be a buoyancy in terms of revenue.
Any impact on capital spending or fiscal deficit?
I wouldn't think. At this moment, I can say with confidence, capital expenditure of the government will not come down. It will be completed as is stated in the budgetary planning time, the budget estimate time, and so with the fiscal deficit. And this is the last point of my gliding path. Right. I will adhere to it.
Will petroleum products and alcohol continue to be outside the ambit of GST?
Yes, the current proposal doesn't include it. Right. The states will have
and to... And you don't see that happening in the near future?
Not in the immediate future.
The exclusive conversation there with Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. Take a short break. On the other side, we get you a whole host of global updates, including where the India and US ties are headed. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Now, amidst the ongoing tensions between Washington and New Delhi over tariffs and purchase of Russian oil, US President Donald Trump said that India and the United States have a special relationship and there is nothing to worry about. Listen into what he had to say.
I always will. I'll always be friends with Modi. He's great. Prime Minister, he's great. I'll always be friends, but I just don't like what he's doing at this particular moment. But India and the United States have a special relationship. There's nothing to worry about.
Now, sources tell CNBC TV 18 that the recent positive statements regarding the India-US relations made by President Trump and Prime Minister Modi can be seen as a first step towards the lowering of tensions between both countries. Both India and the US are likely to work towards finding a common ground now, according to sources. Prime Minister Modi and Trump's statements can be seen as the first sign of positive signaling by both sides about the strength of the overall India-US partnership. The sources also added that since the last few weeks, officials of both countries have been in regular touch at senior levels. Meanwhile, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar said that Prime Minister Modi attaches enormous importance to the India-US partnership and that they remain engaged with the United States.
Prime Minister Modi obviously attaches enormous importance to our partnership with the United States. and where President Trump is concerned, he's always had a very good personal equation with President Trump. But the point is, look, we are engaged, we remain engaged with the United States, and at this time, I can't say more than that.
Now, speaking to CNBC TV 18, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said that she hopes that the current 50% US tariff on India is not a long-haul situation. And Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal also said that a few comments are unlikely to derail the years-long ties that both the countries have.
There is a package which consists of very many different ways in which we want to help them. So we'll wait for the cabinet to clear it, but there is something coming to help them, so that this tirade of the tariff is something which they can face, and also suddenly having to look for newer markets is also a challenge, but we'll have to help them out on that.
So is there a sense in the government that this could be a slightly longer haul?
We hope not, but we really can't leave our exporters high and dry saying it's going to change sooner. We will work with them.
Nirmalaji, will we also continue to buy Russian oil?
Yes, that's been made very plain and simple. Whether it is Russian oil or anything else, it's our decision to buy from the place which suits our needs.
Some of the officials of the Trump administration, calling it Modi's war, or, a laundromat of Kremlin. I mean, how do you react to this? I mean, are conciliatory noises coming from the other side now?
I think there could be either some misunderstandings or some personal opinions that may be reflected in that. I do not think that deters the US and India from continuing to maintain a strategic alliance and partnership. Our friendship is far stronger than a few comments that may be made by a few people.
US President Donald Trump also said that he's ready to move to a second phase of sanctioning Russia, the closest he has come to suggesting that he's on the verge of ramping up sanctions against Moscow or its oil buyers over the war in Ukraine. Here's what he had to say.
Are you ready to move to the second phase of sanctions against Russia or punishing Putin?
Now, meanwhile, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent also said that the US and the European Union could heap secondary tariffs on the countries that buy Russian oil, pushing the Russian economy to the brink of collapse and bringing Russian President Vladimir Putin to the negotiating table. Friday's session on Wall Street was a choppy one after a weaker than expected monthly jobs report. The Dow Jones, after at one point was down 350 points, recovered from those losses to end just over 200 points down. The S&P 500 and the Nasdaq just closed below the flat line. CNBC's Mackenzie Sigalos gets us a wrap of all the action on Wall Street.
For CNBC TV 18, I'm Mackenzie Sigalos. U.S. markets were down across the major indexes in Friday trading after a weaker than expected monthly jobs report. The Dow falling 220, the S&P 500 lower 21, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq down 7. Now, the August jobs report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics Friday showed the economy added 22,000 jobs last month. That's less than the consensus estimate of 75,000, which is the latest sign of a hiring slowdown. The unemployment rate ticked up to 4.3%, which was in line with expectations. But the weaker than expected jobs number also boosting investor confidence in a rate cut from the Fed this month, according to the CME's Fed Watch tool. And shares of Tesla were up more than 3% on Friday after a nearly $1 trillion offer to Elon Musk. The company is asking investors to approve a new pay package for the CEO. According to a financial filing, if Musk were to hit all the targets laid out in the plan over the next decade, it would earn him $975 billion. The plan would also give him increased voting power and includes a goal of increasing the company's stock market value eightfold during that time. Tesla chairwoman Robin Denholm tells CNBC the plan was designed to keep Musk, quote, motivated and focused. That's what's happening here in the U.S. Back to you in Mumbai.
Mackenzie, thank you for that update. Let us also see what the U.S. National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett had to say about Friday's jobs report.
you have to do is remember that, and when you're looking at an economy, you have to look at like the whole portfolio of numbers that we have to look at. This jobs number was certainly a little bit of a disappointment right now, but one of the things, there was a Goldman Sachs study that came out yesterday that showed that because the BLS hasn't really done a good job on its seasonal adjustment in August, that they tend to revise this number up by almost 70,000 jobs when they give you the revised number a month later. And so you have to sit back and think, well, what's really going on in the economy? So we're very, very excited about where things are going. It's a little bit of a disappointing job number, but I pretty much expect it's going to revise up.
Now, US President Donald Trump also signed an order to implement lower tariffs on Japanese automobile imports and other products that were announced in July. Let us also hear what the US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick had to say on this.
President has complete discretion on where these investments go. The Japanese, it's classic. They are going to meet capital calls in America. They are going to give America money when we ask for it to build the projects. How do they plan to fund it? You know, that's their business, of course. That's up to them on how they plan to get the $550 billion. But what we will see is just the president says, look, I want to build, as an example, the Alaska pipeline. I am going to finally utilize all those assets that we have in Alaska. We're going to build a giant Alaska pipeline, make capital calls to the Japanese. We build that. I mean, think of the employment.
Take a short break. On the other side, we get you cues from the commodities market. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Manisha Gupta now joins in with all the updates from the commodity space. Manisha, good morning. All eyes were on the OPEC meeting over the weekend. What's come out of that?
Well, yes, positive stuff coming in from there, where the OPEC will increase production, but at a very modest pace. So what we've seen in the previous month is that OPEC increasing production by 400 and 500,000 barrels per day. But for the month of October now, it's just about 137,000. So much lower, and that's the reason you are looking at 1 to 2% of gains in the crude prices in the Asia right now. What also has seen very strong gains has been metals as a sector, with gold prices trading near record highs of $3,600 an ounce. All of these markets are reacting to the weak U.S. jobs data on Friday and the U.S. unemployment that raised to 2021 highs as well. Traders are now assigning 92% chance of a 25 basis point rate cut by the Fed in the month of September itself. Not just gold, silver is trading at a 14-year highs. Copper prices trading at a 1-month highs. You also have some of these agri-commodities doing quite well as well. So whether it's about coffee, rubber, we are trading at multi-month highs for many of these.
Manisha, thank you for that update there on the commodities front. Now, Japan's Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba announced over the weekend that he will be resigning. He will continue his duties until the new LDP leader is elected. Ishiba came to power less than a year earlier, and since then, his ruling coalition lost its majorities in both the houses of parliament amidst voter anger over the rising living costs. He has instructed his Liberal Democratic Party to hold an emergency leadership race. With that, we call time on this edition of Power Breakfast. From me and the team that put this show together, thank you so much for watching. Bazaar Morning Call on the other side to set you up for the day's trade.